So, welcome everyone to another live event hosted by the Teach Fall 2020 team. My name is Apurva Mehta, the Associate CIO, and I'm joined by Judy Goldman, Director of Office of Faculty Development, Maya Mangawang, Executive Director for Strategic Initiatives, Professor Patricia Kruger-Henney, Director for CIT, and Professor Andrew Perumal, the chair of the Academic Technology Committee, which reports into Faculty Council. So this is week 3 of the semester, and we thought it would be a good time to hear from the faculty. Hence, today's event is titled a listening session, and we've really stolen this term from the ACTF committee that hosted more than a couple of listening sessions during the summer, and we thought we'd try and use this event as a way of hearing from faculty. But before I begin, I would also like to recognize and say a big thank you to members of the e-learning team, including members from Classroom Technology team who've provided all the support and services. They worked tirelessly through the entire summer months to prep for the fall semester, and they've done an outstanding job. So I just want to say thank you. And they've been offering support, virtual drop-in hours, webinars, training, documentation through the summer. So a big thank you to John and his team and Paula and her team. I'm going to turn over the session to Judy Goldman, who's going to moderate the session. And Andrew and I are going to keep an eye on the chat. And we invite members from the e-learning team and from the classroom technology team, Lauren, Zach, and others to help as well, answer questions. So feel free to ask your questions in the chat as well, but we really would like to hear from all of you. So Judy, all yours.
Yeah, thanks everybody. I'm going to start off by differing a little bit from Apurva, and since this is a listening session, and asking you if at all possible to bring your question to the group. You can use the hand raising function. I'm not saying don't use the chat, but it tends to create side conversations, and we really do want to try to build a conversation here through your observations and thoughts about how the semester's going. So to the extent possible, let's keep this conversation open to all. So we've given a lot of workshops over the summer, and they were very well attended, about student engagement, student well-being, workshops on balancing and choosing between synchronous and asynchronous modes, and on workshops on Zoom as well, using Zoom, of course. And so today we really want to take the temperature of the group and find out what's working, what's not, and we want to hopefully get an idea of how to move forward. The Teach Fall 2020 group does to develop further workshops that are really relevant to your needs as they're unfolding through the semester. So we want to get as much help as possible today from you, at the same time that we want to provide help to you. And there's a team of technologists and designers attending the meeting so that questions can be answered on the spot, as well as further meetings planned. So I see Ursula has a question. I'm going to jump right in and ask Ursula to start us off.
Oh, thank you very much, Judith. I mean, I'm actually very interested in having, some sort of a forum on faculty health and wellness. There's a lot of attention paid to engaging students and their well-being. And I mean, not just me, but I know that everybody who, from IT to e-learning to everybody, we started this semester exhausted. And 3 weeks in, and it feels like it should be time for Christmas break. I mean, this is just an exhausting process for us. And at least I personally suffered physical consequences. I hurt my back from sitting in front of my computer for 4 months. So by midsummer, I was debilitated from doing this. So, I think a lot of people are, have real issues. And I think that would be something to focus on our needs, physical and mental and et cetera, as well as the students that we're, focusing on rightly, but we need to focus on ourselves as well, faculty and staff. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Ursula. That's a very powerful comment and a counterbalance to where much of our attention has been. It makes a lot of sense to me. I'm sure we'll be talking about that. Anybody want to speak to that further, or raise matters that you came to the meeting to talk about?
Judy, there's a question in the chat from Sylvia Dorado.
Let's see. Okay, so Sylvia Dorado has a question regarding working with teams. Could you flesh that out a little bit for us, Sylvia? What are you thinking about?
Yeah, so first of all, I want to bring recognition to the e-learning team. I was new to Blackboard and I just jumped, I don't know, it was head first or feet first or whatever, but people helped me along the way and I managed to go through. My frustration comes with Blackboard, and I don't know, I know that there's a Blackboard Ultra, so if there's any way of getting us the latest version of this software, I think will improve. I find Blackboard very wanting, particularly with Teams. I like to use Teams, I like to use peer learning, and right now I find myself copy-pasting for 3 classes, for 6 teams, for 9 teams, copy-pasting, which generates errors. And, I am going to be prompt to errors, and I just don't understand it. Why cannot be, you put all the information in one place, you click and you create teams. Why this system is built, it seems like a tree. So you always have to go all the way to the root of the tree to then go back to the details and change it. It creates a humongous amount of space for errors. So definitely I could use more training, but I asked for help, and Jean gave me great help, but it involved a lot of copy pasting. My little finger is sore of just going around and clicking here and clicking there. That was very frustrating. I also wanted to use tasks because I have a semester-long project. The students are procrastinators, and even if you just ask them to self-report on work completed, that helps them move along. And the tasks feature, nobody knew about it. Then I asked for help. Then it seems like it actually doesn't work, and I have to give up on it midway. So I feel that we would be better off with maybe Blackboard Ultra. I heard Canvas is far more powerful and easier friendly. And my dog is barking, so that should stop because, yeah, he's a friendly dog and I'm friendly too. I'm just frustrated. Thank you so much.
Well, he doesn't frighten us at all. Thank you. I wonder if anybody would like to jump in on this, either the Blackboard folks or other members of the audience to build on that.
So I can give a very quick update on migration from our present instance of Blackboard to Blackboard Ultra. So our present instance of Blackboard is a 5-campus consortium instance. And so the other campuses and all of us sort of moved together as part of UMass Online. And the goal to upgrade to Ultra is at least, unfortunately, at least maybe 18 months away. I think we have to take some baby steps before and move from one instance of Blackboard to a SaaS or the cloud version, and then from there on to Ultra, which I think will sort of, it mimics some of the other nicer systems that are there today, Canvas being one of them. It is a ways away, and I'm sorry to hear that you're having trouble with Blackboard. I completely agree. It's a dated system. It's pretty clunky, but I think that's what we have today. You're right. We do have Microsoft Teams, but it's not a system that sort of we support or has been rolled out across campus. I know there are pockets of faculty members who are using it today, but I do not think we are in a position as of yet to support it. So I don't have a good answer for you, Sylvia. I'm sorry.
Are there any alternatives to the laboriousness of copying and pasting that Sylvia mentioned? Does anybody have any thoughts about that? Ellen?
No, I'm not sure specifically what Sylvia is referring to. But Blackboard, clunky as we may think it is, has a groups feature. And you can...
I can interrupt. I am talking about the groups function in
Okay.
Blackboard. I wasn't talking about Microsoft groups. I was talking about the group functions in Blackboard. And
Right, that's what I
Gene, I don't know his last name, or I cannot pronounce it. Gene
Schwab.
was the one that I worked with to figure out what was the best way. And he told me just, you need to create the groups and copy paste from one group to the next. And I explored to see whether there was alternative venues, and I couldn't find any alternative venue. And I followed what he showed me, which was that.
He is our expert in it, but if I think outside the box, you can actually assign an assignment to a group. So I would imagine that you could put all your instructions or copy, all the things that you might copy and paste, you could put in a document and call it an assignment, and then just filter it to all the groups. I see Linda shaking her head. Am I right, or am I giving wrong information?
Yeah, I was thinking that as well, that there can be some way that we could use assignments maybe to avoid all of that copying and pasting. But Ellen or I can meet
Linda and Ellen, and I'm going to talk with you later about it, Ellen,
So
and
we'll
about all the
that.
things that I tried and all the venues that I applied. And it's not that I didn't try your things, it's just that the way it was set up. And I'm happy to discuss this individually with you. I don't want to make it about my specific problem. I have reserved time, and you guys have helped me tremendously. So I don't have any problem with you guiding me. I do think that that's a problem with this Blackboard. And if I can advocate for any way in which we can move a little faster to a better version and a better software, because I'm new to this software and it's very frustrating to be learning a version that is 2 versions away from the one where I should be. And if there's any way in which you want me to write a letter to someone, I'm happy to write a letter because it's really, I learn on software that is 18 months old. So, and people has 4 months of back pain to learn a software that is 18 months old. And it's so that's all I'm trying to do in this meeting. In terms of individual help, each of you has been fabulous helping me, and I have no complaints. I'm actually amazed about the excellent work and the patience and the sympathy that you guys have had in working with us.
Thank you very much.
So why don't we have one of the instructional designers along with Jean and others to reach and work with you, Sylvia?
I'll be working with Sylvia at 4 o'clock. So
thank you, Ellen.
maybe if Gene is free, he can join us and we can talk about his thoughts. And Linda, you're welcome to join. We could have a party. Who's bringing the wine?
Well, we want this meeting to be frank, and you're welcome to dig in. So thank you, Sylvia. This is just the sort of thing that this meeting is intended to bring out, even if it's a little uncomfortable and frustrating. Can I take any other questions or thoughts from anybody? Yes, go ahead. I see Mary Ellen Jagelski. There is a hand raising. There is a hand raising function at the bottom of your page, but I can also see you raise your hands. So
I raised my hand.
yeah, go
I did
ahead, Mary.
and digitally, I have raised hand. I wanted to say thank you very much to everyone. Everyone has been absolutely wonderful and outstanding with their help on all different aspects between Blackboard, Echo, Zoom, voice threads. Everyone has been wonderful and helpful, and I think that has been outrageously comforting and builds confidence. I think what right now I am feeling is putting it all together, in finding out once you get in front of the class, oh, this is not functioning well, you know, I might need more help with assignments, the polling, different things that are coming up. And I think it's the fine tuning at this point. I think everyone has been over the summer attending all the meetings, but I think it's the fine tuning at this point. And unfortunately, it tends to happen right in class, or right before. So I think we're feeling the stress of all, and the fact that our class time is sometimes being down because we're fiddling with what we have to move it along. And I think that might be a little frustrating. So I think it's our building our expertise, building our confidence, as well as finding the best way to do things. But I want to say the team, the whole entire team has been so available to us. And I know you're all outrageously busy right now because you're booked out for a while, and I can't make the 10 to 2 drop-in times, but I really appreciate it. I do have follow-up questions, and I think I'm going to reach out to the people who've worked with me in the past. But I wanted to say thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you in return. I can only imagine how gratifying this is to the designers to hear. And before this remote pivot, the instructional designers really struggled to be known to the faculty. And of all the good things, of the few good things that may have come out of this, it's that they're having their day, and they won't be back in the shadows so much anymore. So thank you for saying that, because it's been many years of trying to make their mark here. And we noticed this occurring over the summer as well.
Mary Ellen, do you think it might help if you had maybe someone to help you during the class time, during your first couple of classes? I don't know whether it's someone.
I'm sure, and I think that would be really helpful. And I think that I'm trying to prepare. I have class tomorrow afternoon. I'm trying to get the Blackboard assignments so that I can get more participation, because we were all talking about getting the students more engaged. And I think it's that part of, the polling and then coming back to class and then sharing slides and then trying to go out to a breakout room, which are, for me, seem to be difficult establishing right now. But it would be helpful. I think probably if I could do a drop-in session, just to fine tune some of it for tomorrow, or talk to someone. I have a few different questions that would be helpful, but that would be great. Okay. I'm open to anything if you want to.
I cannot promise you any
send help my way.
Dedicated stuff, but I think, maybe if we can connect you with an instructional designer or someone to sort of, walk you through your class, I think you might get a little bit of practice in that.
To help with that if you want.
Oh, thank you, Linda.
So if I could just say, Mary Ellen, what you say brings out a point that I think I'd like to, is the word extrapolate, like generalize from your point. There's actually a role in this kind of Zoom synchronous classroom known as the producer. And the producer is in a large event. There's a producer who has actually a tech outline as to what the schedule of the class is going to be and what actually is going to happen, and therefore what needs to happen technically. And for those of you who are teaching large classes, you might consider having the TA play that role in a synchronous session. I don't know, Mary Ellen, how large your classes are, but there is, a need in a tricky situation with different breakout rooms and screen sharings, et cetera, for a person who focuses on the technical stuff so that you can teach, right? I mean, your job is to teach. So
I do have a TA, and that's a great point, Ellen. I do have a TA. My TA is usually monitoring the chat while I'm going along doing the teaching. We're trying to work on names and stuff and that, because they have themselves all renamed to little funky things. But I am using the TA for the chat as I am doing the teaching, and we only have them for a short period of time.
When Linda and I
That's
do
great.
webinars together, one of us teaches the webinar and the other one of us does the tech. And the one who's doing the tech actually has a script and knows what's coming and when it's going to happen. So I mean, I don't mean to make it scary, but when you're live with a lot of students in there and you're teaching a class, it's kind of a performance and a scripted production. And there is that role for the tech person.
That makes
great. Thank you.
Yeah, that makes an enormous amount of sense, Ellen, and I think it's reassuring for you to explain that it's part of the field, even when experts are doing live Zoom events, to have somebody as have a partner doing tech support because of the stressfulness of trying to do both at the same time. And if you do have a TA, it makes sense to try to recreate to some limited degree that model, to take some of the stress off of your own work in that hour. It makes tremendous sense to me, and I thank you for mentioning that.
So just to be practical then, in terms of how to do that, if you think of a Microsoft Word table, on one column you have the teacher, what the teacher is doing, and on the next column you have what the technical person is doing, and then you have the it's a grid, and so it progresses down, like top of the hour, 5 minutes in, 15 minutes in, and so that it's known in advance what everybody is doing. And it's a little more preparation at the outset, but it does take away anxiety in real time.
Yeah, I mean, it's not impossible for me to imagine in some departments that you'd have a kind of teaching buddy, and you could do it for each other. If not for all one's classes, for classes which you anticipated them being complicated. And it could be that faculty work with other faculty in this way. I see did somebody want to add to that? Linda Sidleski, I see that you wanted to say something.
Yes, no, I just wanted to comment on what Jana put in chat, that she was wondering if there could be a way to set up times where faculty could go over their Zoom or collaborate sessions with us. Absolutely, when you book a consult with any of us, either from the IT class tech team or from e-learning, it's what you want to do with that time. It's up to you. So if you want us to go over Collaborator Zoom or whatever, we're here to do that.
So Judy and Carol Cherise and I have had a conversation already about the potential of holding a Zoom clinic. I'm wondering if that would be useful to people, where it wasn't a one-on-one consult, but a bunch of people. So the idea would be there would be several designers and maybe 10 faculty. It would be maybe a drop-in, or maybe you sign up. I don't know how it would work, but that way you would have enough people in the room to practice breakout rooms and more complicated maneuvers where you would have, that you would do when you had a classroom full of students.
Yeah, Ellen, I think that's still a great idea. I find myself, those little nuances that as you're teaching live, you're working in Zoom or what have you, that something invariably happens. So I think keeping it small, like 10 people, like you said, might be a great.
About 10 people is what I was thinking. And we could teach how to make a text script, and then people could practice the more complicated features that require more than 2 people in the room to do.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Can we take any other issues that are coming up? What's working, what's not?
So I followed the provost's policy on use of the web camera. And at first students were, pretty good about putting their web cameras on. I'm also extremely sensitive to their ambivalence about it and all sorts of reasons why they would not want to put the web camera on. So I have not taken a hard and fast approach at all. I've been very, very sensitive. But what I've noticed in the last 2 weeks after the first week is very few people have their cameras on. So, which I still find slightly disconcerting, teaching to these black circles, but or empty circles. So I was sort of curious about that, about what other faculty are experiencing and how they're dealing with it. I guess that's my main question right now.
Elizabeth, if I could jump in here to answer, because we're actually seeing a trend, myself and even some of my students in their organizations, where they're experiencing the exact same thing. People, whether they be employees or students, they're not turning on their video. And I'm not sure, and I've even read it in the paper just the other day in the Globe, that I think people are getting zoomed out. Yeah. And so, and they're starting to multitask, and it's not you. I just want to share that it's not you. It's just, yeah. And it's unfortunate it's happening so early in the semester. Right. And maybe we could think out loud with our class too, to say, I notice this is happening. How can we get more engaged, and just putting it out there. I think at the beginning, they might start to think about it if we plant little seeds and be explicit about it. Right.
Yeah, I've tried, I don't know, sorry, Rajani, I've tried, because I've actually had good success so far, but there's always a lot of energy in the beginning of the semester. Even my full class discussions have been really good. And even like yesterday, very few had their cameras on, but the engagement was so high. We were talking about the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and lots of different students participating. And so I felt like this incredible sense of presence, even though I couldn't see most of them, just jumping in, and the chat box was busy, and just very wide participation. And I was very, very heartened by that. But I have to say, I think I wasn't quite sure what to make of the fact that so few students put their cameras on. And I guess I was starting to take it a little personally. But anyway, that's helpful, Carol. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, let's pursue this a bit, but I know that Rajani wants to speak, and then let's see where this is going.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Elizabeth, I really appreciate you bringing this up, because I've had a discussion with my students about this. And one of the things that I decided to do was to say, let's all maybe agree that for a certain portion of the class, we will try to keep our cameras on, right? Now, I happen to have a very long block of time, and I obviously don't expect them to keep their camera on the entire 2.5 hours. Right. But I've just said, look, if it's okay, maybe for 45 minutes, we can all agree that we keep our camera on and just learn to create a community with one another. If it's absolutely impossible during that time frame, I understand. But I think maybe just giving them some options of, like time blocks that we agree on. Yeah. And I found that to be somewhat helpful too.
Right.
And if you want to do this as I would take it a step further, especially, well, not especially for younger or more novice students. I think this would work. This has the potential for working at any level. If you agree to do it with cameras on for 20 minutes or so, and then it goes off for another 20 minutes in the usual way, then you can pause and you can ask people what the difference is in their experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And really, let them be, reflecting critically on the different kinds of experience they're having. And you have to, I guess, accept whatever you get. I would hope that there would be a positive response to the more personal version with the cameras on, but it's possible that it won't have mattered that much. But whatever they say, if it's true, it's at least, you're having a thought process about this.
Right. And Ade has made a good point.
Yeah,
That I think we're all really conscious of, Ade, that some students will never be able to turn on their camera because of the environments in which they are situated. And in that case, of course, we would never require that. Yeah.
Right. But it's still possible to have some people turn, to do a little experiment as long as it isn't, required.
Okay.
Jenna, you say, sorry, my camera's off. I figured you guys don't need to see my kids playing Minecraft in the background. Well, yes, of course. Thanks for the joke. And we're not taking it too seriously because this is an entirely voluntary experience. There's no credit and there's no grade. So, and we're happy to have you here under any and all circumstances. Other people want to jump in. Lauren, Louis, you want to talk about what your chat comment says?
No, it's just the whole discussion with students not using their camera. In place, if they sign up for a free Zoom account and they sign into your meeting with their Zoom account, they could have a profile picture up instead, so at least you'd have something to look at for them.
We do the same thing and collaborate, with the profile picture.
Yeah, that's a good start. That's certainly a step past a black square, a black rectangle, to be sure. Other matters that are on people's minds, what's working, what's not, where are you feeling confident, what are you feeling less confident about? Is there anything that this group would like to see Teach Fall 2020 pursue in the next couple of weeks? We've been very conscious of changing our pace now that the semester has begun, and we did not want to presume, that we had your undivided or not, if not undivided attention, your attention as we did in the summer, because of the demands on you that live teaching brings, or just teaching. But we don't want to disappear either. So we're interested in hearing suggestions or just free associations about how Teach Fall 2020 can be helpful without being intrusive.
It's Mary Ellen again. I think we're all in our growing pains right now and just trying things out to see what's working, what's not. I think the next big hurdle is going to be probably in 2 weeks when it comes to exam time, because the exams should be starting, and I think that's when you're going to see, and they're all, what we're doing for each department, each college, is varying somewhat between Respondus, Blackboard, and other options. So I think please don't go away, because we'll find out these things most likely the hard way. But I think we're going to come into another hurdle real soon when it comes to the exams. We did somewhat get over that in the spring, but we did them 1 or 2, 3 times, and we may have forgotten some of those techniques, and we will need help with that again.
What is
We
your
just had a faculty
what's your department, Mary Ellen?
nursing.
Okay.
Nursing. So we had a meeting, a faculty meeting today, and one of the things that came up that did entail some discussion was the exams, the security of the exams, the being kicked out and not getting back in. My class, I know Ellen had asked before, I have 103 students, and we're hearing if you have responders and large classes and all different things. So I do think there's a hurdle coming, and it should be entering in about 2 weeks.
Okay,
Or
thank you.
maybe.
Thank you.
That's good that's good to know, Mary Ellen. I think we
Oh,
can
yeah.
certainly put together a session around assessment and academic integrity. We had something in
Oh.
the summer, but we can certainly
Right.
revisit that and put together an event or a workshop that you can attend. So besides responders, we're also investing in another proctoring solution on a much smaller scale. We're rolling it out, which is Honor and Respondus is also sort of coming up with a version. It probably won't be ready for the fall semester, but it'll work on the Chromebooks. And I know Linda Sadleski is sort of heading up that project. So I think, I think by the end of the fall semester, we should know a lot more about Respondus, but I know that academic integrity and assessment is a big topic that needs to be addressed.
My students sent me emails at the end of the semester saying they had a little extra time. We built in extra time because they were being dropped in the spring. And at the end of the semester, students emailed me that she just wanted me to know that other students were taking pictures of the exam questions during the exam and passing them around. So, these are things that we worry about.
Yeah.
Because ultimately they'll be taking an exam to become a nurse. So
Yeah, and it really affects morale when students feel that that cheating is going unnoticed. It's very, very bad for morale. Elizabeth Bussiere, you had your hand up.
Yeah, so I was going to say that I think having sessions tied to, sort of the rhythm and the needs of the semester. So I totally on board, like, having something around the midterm time on assessments. I think, once again, doing something maybe more focused on how to use the technology to improve students' writing. That was certainly one of the panelists' presentations over the summer. But I think just as the semester goes, so exams, right, papers, oral presentations, I think those sorts of things would be very helpful, at least for me. I was also wondering if the university has any way of doing a survey of students at the end of the semester where they're asked sort of what sorts of things worked, what helped them in their stay focused and engaged, what didn't. I found the results of that national survey that you guys posted on the Teach 2020 website to be quite helpful. I think it would be even more helpful to have a survey of our own students. Although that survey did report results broken down by first generation students and students from marginalized communities, which I found helpful. But I don't know if that could be possible to survey our own students just as we prepare then for the spring semester. Yeah.
Thank you for that. I'm waiting for somebody, one of the tech experts to reply to that. I don't know if Apurva wants to reply.
So in terms of serving the students, I think we would have to work in cahoots with student affairs and with institutional research in trying to put together a survey, just trying to find out what we are trying to learn from them so that we can, I think it's a good idea, so that, in case spring semester is very much like the fall semester, then, we know changes that we need to make. But I'd also be curious to hear from all of you if you are hearing anything from your students, whether it's their well-being or, do you find them being fairly active? Do you find them Or is it too early to tell?
I'll just jump in. For me, it's too early to tell.
I'd like to just, pick up on Elizabeth's thoughts and Apurva's reply and connect it to an ordinary routine that many of you already use in your classroom, which is a kind of mid-semester evaluation or check-in. And it seems to me that this year, that would be really, really important to do, and to ask the very questions that Elizabeth was suggesting, and you have time then to make some adjustments. And if, in fact, if members of this group and others were to do mid-semester check-ins, even if it's not a scientific survey with the same questions, there's still much to be learned by what you get back from your students just through a conversation like this. Really quickly, you begin to hear patterns that just imply action without it having to be a publisher done with a kind of survey precision that you would use if you were going to publish the results rather than just try to improve your teaching. So think about doing a mid-semester check-in, and we'll think about hearing from you about what you learned and try to cull those responses.
If I may add something to that, Judith, I have seen instructors before do weekly check-ins. Just a quick, what do you think went well this week? What could have gone better? Because often the feedback is so much richer when you're getting the feedback as they're thinking about what's happening and as they're experiencing your course, instead of at the end of the semester. So that I like the mid-semester check-in idea, but also I've seen it done on a weekly basis too, and I thought you'd want to know that.
Okay, yeah, I mean, you know from your students what kind of routine would get a positive response from them and what won't. But the point is to ask. Paul Benson, I see you've got your hand up. Nice to see you. Welcome.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, I certainly agree with the points that, frequent check-ins with students, at least, mid-semester is really important. And in terms of like an end of semester, survey, we can also, that's something that, we can do within our own departments. So, as chair in sociology, I'm going to try to put something together, that's specific to our own department. So I would, recommend that faculty touch base with their chairs and their undergraduates, their educational, curriculums, committees and so forth to see what they can do as a department.
Yeah, I mean, assessment is part of the core work of the university at every level, and it starts really in departments where you're evaluating programs, not just individual professors for personnel reasons. And the AQUAD reviews now have made curriculum assessment of programs, once again, not individual professors, but curriculum, assessment of programs, central to department reviews that occur every 7 years. And under these circumstances, assessing remote teaching to, attempt to improve student learning seems to be, nothing could be more important to the work of an individual department. And this kind of work is already framed by the the terms of by the standards set by the trustees. So those of you who want to, I do suggest that you take it back to your departments. Let's see, any other questions or thoughts? Go ahead, Carol.
Judy, and everyone here, there was a little discussion a little while ago raised about the having Zoom on and off, and that piqued an interest in me regarding doing a little mini research. And I was wondering if there would any faculty would be interested in consciously asking the students, to put it on, put the camera on or off, and see how that correlates maybe to the level of engagement. I'd be curious to just kind of see if there are any patterns emerging, how it could be helpful. It might inform our thinking a little bit more too.
I think doing some teacher research on this would be a terrific idea.
Carol, do you care if it's an undergraduate or a graduate class?
No, I think we can separate it out if we were to, bring it forward, or even just talk about it, saying, okay, in my graduate classes, this is what we're seeing in undergrad. So we know about it. The demographic would be important, but I wouldn't have any, I wouldn't preclude one over the other at all.
I'm happy to discuss it with you in more detail, because it sounds like it would be really interesting to find out. And I'll check with my grad students tomorrow when I see them as well. Okay.
Thank you, Rajani. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Carol, I'm wondering if it's a chicken and the egg. I'm wondering, I don't know the answer. I'm truly wondering if it's a more engaging pedagogy, if the cameras are more likely to be on. I mean, if it's breakout rooms and discussion, are the cameras more likely to be on than if it's lecture? So which goes first? I don't know how you find that out, but.
Ellen, I've always wondered, what happens in the breakout rooms?
Yeah.
Because honestly, I've been tempted to, sometimes I feel like I should, kind of.
You can drop into them.
Yeah, no, I know I can. But then I think, I want them to be able to just talk among themselves, right? So I don't want to feel so intrusive. But you're right. I've often wondered, it would be lovely to know if they are turning on their cameras in the
right and chit-chatting.
Yeah.
As long as they do the case study you've given them, right, and come back with something to say.
I don't mind that they chit-chat at all. I think it's a great way for them to feel comfortable with one another. But then they should also obviously be doing the work. So.
I just wonder, from a research point of view, if you could tease out which came, the causality.
Well, you could also do that in the breakout groups. That could be another subset of what we're talking about here too. Not only with the teacher presence with a Zoom camera on and off, but in a breakout group. Mm-hmm. So when they're in a smaller group, they might feel very comfortable and say, no, we 100% of the time we have a camera on. So that would be almost like another part of that.
Elizabeth, are you, is your hand up for another comment? Oh no, it's okay. Is there anybody else that would like to join this little project that Carol and Rajani are cooking up? I hope you'll think about it, and maybe after the meeting, consider joining them. I mean, I'm already, my head's spinning a little bit, because I can see this as the topic of a workshop in which you would, tell us what you did and what came of it. And I'm even wondering if there might be a student panel that would be part of that.
Oh, that's a good idea, Judy.
Mm-hmm.
Bring the students in who were part of this project and let them talk about it from their point of view. Mm. I think that that would, has the potential for being very illuminating. So you can certainly go outside this group to see if you can recruit a couple people to participate in some little project. But if there's anybody in this group who wants to join Carol and Rajani, please email them.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you, Judy. Yeah, we'll just call it our own little mini action research project.
Absolutely. I was also really struck by something that Elizabeth said, you know, when you mentioned, and I find this to be the case as well, Elizabeth, that the students are very engaged. They're very participatory, right? Even when their cameras are not on. So I'm intrigued by that. And, you know, and especially because you mentioned it was about RBG. So, you know, do certain topics just override the need to, you know, so just all kinds of questions that come up that thank you for saying that when you did. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it may count more for us than it does for the students, and our own ego gratification
Right.
is very, you know, very hard to separate out from what really has an effect on the students themselves. And this isn't new to the, you know, the teaching enterprise, but it's, you know, it's worth understanding a little bit better.
I mean, and other people finding that they have to be more performative when all the cameras are off.
It's more stressful for you, trying harder.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
do you find that, Elizabeth, that because all the cameras off, you're feeling like you have to be more animated and more energetic? And
I think one thing that's been a very pleasant surprise for me is that perhaps because of the isolation and sort of solitary nature of COVID, even when their cameras are off, and even frankly, when a class has lagged a little bit, I have just thoroughly enjoyed them. It's not to say they're not often stressful, and I worry, oh my gosh, am I being too boring, or can I get more students to talk, or whatever, but generally, I don't find it hard at all to get up for class. Whereas sometimes in the physical classroom, if for whatever reason, I sometimes did. So that's been a positive development for me. One thing I just wanted to say, I don't know if this goes 90 minutes or 60 minutes. I have to get off at 3:30, but one other thing I just wanted to suggest as a possible topic for the future, for the e-learning folks and others, is with the election coming up. Of course, I'm in political science, so you know, we're mindful of this. I mean, I think emotions are going to be running high. I think students are going to be having some real fears and exhaustion and all of that. And I think as far as just our being aware of student wellness and all of those issues, I think having maybe a session on that, dealing with student emotional overload, not to mention our own, you know, maybe something like that would be useful down the road, perhaps in November. Doesn't necessarily have to be in October, but I just can see that coming as an issue. So.
What do you see coming? Could you flesh that out a little bit?
I just mean a certain level of stress, of emotional exhaustion, of fear, of depending on the election comes out. I mean, with our country being so polarized, I just think it's possible that we're going to be feeling that more perhaps this semester than we did in the spring. That's all. Just the nature of the political election cycle and all of that. And right. it may be, you know, that this is going to be obviously more relevant to political science and sociology and economics than it will be to nursing or, you know, computer science. It's not to say it's applicable across the university, but I just was thinking about that.
So, Mary Ellen, did Mary
just want? You still here? I just one comment where we were talking about pictures and seeing the students and not seeing the students. And I started to wonder, what would it be like if we turned our picture off and had just remain the students? We have talked to different students and they all have their own preferred way of having content delivered, whether it's in person or now that we've gone remote. Students have their own biases on, do they like voice threads? Do they like classroom set up with like Echo 360? But some students actually will be more engaged with times where they don't see their instructors. So I think the students already unconsciously may have a way that they do learn best too. And, you know, just but I thought it would be interesting if I go into class tomorrow and don't turn on my camera. You know, I won't have to be as animated and do a dance and come on for the last 5 minutes.
You
Mary
know,
Ellen, that's certainly worth
Just
trying.
thought I'd throw a little humor into it. You know, if we had a bargain that everyone wasn't going to turn on their camera till like the first 15 minutes and what response we got.
Well,
Might be fun.
that's certainly a way of playing this question out, to disturb, to disturb
yeah.
Rock the boat.
just to disturb the going way and get students thinking about the effects of the camera on their own experience of the teacher, and turn the tables a little bit. As long as it would be done, with a good sense of humor and not, without, too much seriousness, and certainly not hostility, it might be an interesting little game to play, a bit of drama to prompt reflection.
You know what's interesting though, Mary Ellen's comment made me think that if everyone on this Zoom call were to turn off their camera, I think because we know one another, it wouldn't feel that alienating or isolating, right? We can conjure up an image of each of us over here because we've been together for so many years. And I think that in that may lie something that, if you create a community, then maybe it doesn't matter so much if the camera's on or off. But this has been such an incredibly wonderful conversation. It's got me thinking about all sorts of things.
I mean, I wasn't meaning it to be, hostile to the students or anything, but I just thought they all have their way. I mean, some of my students absolutely love, from the class in front of me, which is Subhas, they love just getting voice threads. So they're not seeing a picture of a faculty member. So I just think it would be interesting, as if we're looking at how we all do best, that might be an option. Just food for thought.
Now, Mary Ellen, I think it's a great idea, and you could frame it initially too to tell the students you're doing your own little mini research, and you're going to purposely turn off your video and ask them afterwards, after 15, 20 minutes, what was that like? And get some data, get that qualitative input.
I may have done that without even knowing it a couple of times, but now I can intentionally.
Yeah.
I was just looking. I mean, this isn't intended to be any kind of criticism at all, but I was looking, and it does seem that the vast majority of people who participated in today's meeting had their cameras on. It's not 100%, but there is that, it's just something that I'm observing here. We did make this meeting out to be an hour rather than 90 minutes because we didn't have presenters, and we didn't want to assume at this point in the semester that we'd have huge numbers and people had endless energy for chatting. I appreciate people saying that this was a good and reviving and thought-provoking conversation. And in the way that these things happen, if you have thoughts after the meeting that are even better than anything you said or thought during the meeting, you know how to reach us, and please feel free. And if Carol Sharice's group does go forward with some teacher research on the camera subject, and you'd like to have us develop a workshop around it, it sounds like a lot of fun, and it raises a question. It raises questions that it'll raise a conversation that I think is on lots of people's minds. Linda Sudleski, did you want to say one thing before we left?
Yes, I just wanted to add that we are doing a webinar on teacher presence on, I believe, the 29th of September. And if there are any other webinar ideas regarding the software that we support or things that you would like to know more about that we can put on for you, please email us at elearning@umb.edu and let us know your ideas, because we would be happy to do that. And Ellen has something additional to say.
I just wanted to piggyback on what Linda is saying and to let you know that our team, I'm the editor of the newsletter that we send out periodically, and we want to be responsive to what you would like to read and need to read. I heard today about in 2 weeks that exams are going to be a hurdle, so I'm thinking that that might be a good topic, but I'm wondering if there's anything else that you care to share now that you'd like us to explain in a very practical how-to kind of way, or if you don't think of it now, you could write to me or to elearning@umb.edu, so that we can, we really want to be in tune with what you need to read, so that we're not just writing things for the heck of it.
Okay, well, you know how to get in touch with Ellen. And I want to thank everybody for coming today very much. Now that the semester has begun, it's even more impressive to have you coming for a session like this. Thank you for the great things you said about the IT and instructional design support you've been getting. And I want to thank you in turn for your openness and engagement with us. It's very gratifying, and we'll try to keep this momentum going. So I wish you a great afternoon, and take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. This was great to see everyone.